Yeah, one of the reasons that I so appreciate Congressman Keith Ellison, and I think he would make a great head for the DNC, but whether he is or he isn't, he's a great co-chair for the House Progressive Caucus and a brilliant representative for his state. And in fact, he said, you know, if he becomes a DNC chair, he'll step down from Congress, which is a huge sacrifice. Which tells me that this guy's got more integrity than the average bear, you know? I mean, it's just like amazing. He just tweeted this out. This is amazing. The House GOP rules package. This was passed yesterday, I believe, or the day before, the first day of Congress. They pass a new set of rules that they operate under. The House GOP rules package bars the Congressional Budget Office. Now, the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, is when legislation is proposed, you send that legislation to the CBO. The CBO does what's called scoring it. In other words, they go through the math on it. The CBO is the Congressional Budget Office, not the Republican Budget Office or the Democratic Budget Office. You know, it's basically, you know, just a bunch of accountants with no political agenda whatsoever. They go through the legislation and they say, okay, this legislation is going to produce $135 million in tax benefits or additional revenue, or it's going to add, you know, $500 billion to the deficit or whatever. They score it, and that's a fancy way of saying what they do is they define the economic impact to our country of that legislation. And it's just routine. If you're going to introduce legislation into Congress that has anything to do with money in any way, you get it scored by the CBO. So here's Keith Ellison's tweet from 6 o'clock this morning. Geez, he's keeping Donald Trump hours. House GOP rules package bars CBO from counting the spikes in deficit spending spurred by an Obamacare repeal. You getting this? I've been telling you all along, what I am watching is the Reagan administration redux. This is, you know, Ronald Reagan and his administration were so good at this kind of stuff, of saying, look at our left hand while their right hand is picking your pocket. They were so good at it. And of course, you got a whole bunch of old Reagan hands who are now part of the Trump administration and helping run the Republican Party. So, and of course, you got Judah Wininsky's two Santa Claus theory, you know, which is obviously still very much active and going on, which was, hey, you know, the Democrats have always been viewed as the party of Santa Claus. They gave us unemployment insurance. They gave us the minimum wage. They gave us the 40-hour work week. Democrats gave us Social Security. Democrats gave us Medicare. Democrats gave us Medicaid. Democrats gave us free public education. Democrats, you know, and Republicans opposed all these things. So Judah Wininsky said, you know, we've got to do two things. Number one, the Republican Party has got to become a party with its own Santa Claus. We've got to come up with our own Santa Claus. And number two, we've got to force the Democrats to shoot their Santa Claus. And the strategy that they developed, now Judah Wininsky proposed this in the Wall Street Journal in the 1970s. He's no longer with us. But the way that this got played out, and they started intentionally doing this during the Reagan administration, is when the Republicans are running things, act like Santa Claus. Run up the debt as hard and as fast as you can. Put trillions of dollars in the national debt. Use that money to stimulate the economy so it looks like you've got good times. Brag about how you help put the country back together and make everything work wonderfully. And then as soon as you're out of office, because it is cyclical, as soon as you're out of office and the Democrats come in and they want to do anything at all, start screaming about how bad the debt is that you created. And in fact, go even a step beyond that and say to the Democrats, you know, this debt is so terrible, you need to shoot your Santa Claus at Social Security. President Obama almost went along with this once, you know, with the chain CPI. That's how good these guys are at this. I mean, they've been working this thing since 1935, and they still are. And they do it by subterfuge and sleight of hand. So the Republicans are going to be proposing a repeal and replace for Obamacare. And they just changed the rules. Now, this is not legislation that might happen next week that you can call your congressman about. This is a done deal. They just changed the rules so that legislation that has to do with the Affordable Care Act, specifically repealing the Affordable Care Act, which is actually going to add to the nation's health insurance bill if you repeal the Affordable Care Act, because there's a lot of stuff in there that keeps prices down. Plus, there's additional taxes on rich people to pay for the Affordable Care Act, which I'm convinced is why you've got these petro-billionaires who are, funding organizations with creepy doctors and speculums and stuff, trying to tell Generation America, don't go near the Affordable Care Act. Oh my God, Obamacare refused to sign up. Because, they get hit with this tax. So the Republicans want to do away with all that. Well, if you do away with all that, what's going to happen? Not only are you going to have many more sick people and dying people. Republicans are fine with that. We've had that for a long, long time. But you're also going to blow up the debt. The national debt is going to go up trillions. So what do you do about that if you're a Republican? You're going to propose legislation. You've been promising to do it, and it's going to explode the national debt. And you've been telling everybody that the national debt is the #1 crisis in the world. It's not, by the way. It's not even a crisis. But what do you do if your whole sales pitch is, oh my God, the debt, oh my God, the debt, whenever there's a Democrat in office, cut Social Security, cut Medicare, cut Medicaid, we got to do something about the debt, oh my God. If that's been your mantra, and then your legislation is going to hugely jack up the national debt, what do? Well, Keith Ellison just outed them. You change the rules so that any legislation that has to do with the sneaky stuff that you're about to pull off to repeal the Affordable Care Act and raise the cost of health care in the United States so that the health insurance companies can make a bigger profit and average working people can get more thoroughly screwed by these banksters. Anything that you do that is going to raise the national debt, it's now illegal, or it's just not going to happen, for the Congressional Budget Office to inform America via Congress about this. See, the problem with the Congressional Budget Office, they're nonpartisan. They report both to Republicans and Democrats. They make reports to Congress, not to political parties. So if the legislation to repeal the Affordable Care Act goes to the CBO, comes back scored, it's not going to the public, but it is going to a bunch of Democrats who are going to take it to the public. And the Republicans do not want that to happen. Oh my God, we can't have the public find out what kind of hypocrites we are, how we're lying through our teeth.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
So they just banned it. It's amazing. Just amazing. Keith Ellison tweeting about this morning. It's just incredible. God bless him.